won't bother proxying anything this game. We're just going to do it from home. But it's going to be like, okay, just go across this map and try to kill my opponent. Now, the most important thing, no matter what your strategy is always to have a good idea of what your game plan is. You know, what is your plan? What do you guys want to achieve? What do you want to achieve in the game? You need to have some idea before you get into the game. Otherwise, you're just trying to make things up in a very high-pressure, fast-paced situation. So here, I'm saying I want to do a one-base all-in attack. So what I'm going to do is I am going to get a Reaper out nice and early, just so I can have a little bit of pressure, but also scouting. So I'm going to go for a gas first. I'm staying on one base. Gas is going to be very important. I want to be building maybe 1 or 2 Cyclones, and then just a bunch of tanks and Liberators and Marines, and trying to kill my opponent with a frontal push where I kind of siege up on their base and slowly push in and to kill them. So the Reaper is going to give me an idea of what my opponent's up to, give me a bit of flexibility in my scouting, as well as the chance to try to distract my opponent. So we've gone a single gas, and because we're on one base, we're going to be going all in. We're not going to be expanding. We're going to go for a very fast second gas on 17 supply. So this is your, you know, somewhat standard one base sort of very aggressive build order. You can be proxying your buildings. Instead, I could build my barracks and my factory like down here on the map to go even more aggressive with it. But I'm doing a little bit more of a standard build up this game. Now, I'm not scouting until my Reaper, because I've decided already my plan is to go all in. I'm going to try to kill my opponent. I'll put down a little bit of spray paint there because that's important. You gotta pay attention to the important things, of course. And we tried to block that probe for a second. So there we go. We're gonna go to factory. Oh, he put down his spray paint as well. That's a cool one. That's the Zerg lot, right? And we want to build extra depots, because we're not gonna have a command center to give us any extra supply this time. That's for sure. So we're gonna go Reaper, Reactor. So it's non-stop Marines, things which don't cost gas after the Reaper's out, and then it's just gonna be tanks. Or actually a Cyclone, and then tanks and Liberators. Now his probes come back. Let's kill him. We're going to keep building depots, and I'm going to build some depots on the edge just to give me some scouting. In case he does something aggressive as well, at least I'll see it coming into my main base a little bit quicker. Always keep those depots lowered, I find, in this early stage. Just makes my life a little bit easier. Cyclone on the way. Just going to go across the map. And I'm already rallying my buildings across the map to see what I can do there. Extra depots on the way. And, ooh, that's a probe. Going to do a little bit of stutter step, and we're going to back away. Ooh, Reaper dies. So that was sloppy. Now, he hasn't expanded yet. So we might want to be just a little bit more conservative with how we get this push going. But let's just see. So 2 more SCVs are going to go across the map. Going to build a tech lab and a Liberator immediately. Could go for a medevac if I wanted to, but we're just going to be focusing on this kind of like very straightforward, try and just get the damage going as quickly as possible. So tanks and Liberators are the more important units. And because I'm low on minerals, I'm actually going to cancel that SCV production. SCV is not so important if I'm going for an all-in. Now these SCVs I'm going to put on auto repair, so they can repair the units, and the Cyclone and these Marines are going to start doing a little bit of pressure. But upon seeing that he has 4 Cyclones, we know that we need to just run away. 4 Stalkers, sorry. We're just going to go, oh god, back away. Let's wait a little bit, because we know he delayed his expansion. Oh, okay. And because he's chasing me across the map, we're going to have to set up there. Now, his Stalkers have backed off for now. But my Liberator says, you're on this side of the map, so I'm going to go siege up your mineral line if I can. And he might be rotating here, I'm not sure. And let's keep building depots. He's trying to kill my Cyclone, so I'm pulling back the unit which he's focus firing. Oh, that's actually a mortal. So we're pushing across this map now. And we're sieging up this Liberator, realizing, you know what? I can't just kill you because you've reacted really well. You know I'm producing a lot of units. I've got to just take it a little bit easier. So I killed 7 probes there, did some good damage, and I'm going to try and build some bunkers here and see if we can get up this push. Now behind this, I'm still dropping mules. I'm still building depots. I've got to build another Liberator. But I'm focusing on getting the frontal push going. Now that I've done some economic damage, he's probably got units in his main, worried about more drops. We're going to put this siege tank down there. And we're just going to very slowly try and get this push going and siege our opponent down. So what we noticed earlier was... Oh my god, he's actually just going to try and break this. And we can just siege up there with that Liberator. We can siege up that tank. We can bring more SCVs on auto repair. And we can just keep on sieging. We just want to try and create the unbreakable siege of death here. So we're just going to kind of use this just siege leapfrog here. And whilst he does get a Liberator there, he loses an Immortal for it. We're just going to keep moving forwards. And all of our focus is on the front. Absolutely every bit. We're just moving forwards, we're building bunkers, and we're going to try and kill him there. GG's. Cool. So let's ask questions, shout out your questions, and let's try and explain kind of what went on there and try and give some examples of exactly what was happening. We're going to do a raffle draw as well in just a moment. So last chance to get in on that. Okay. So... my hotkeys back on standard. Let's take a look. Now, one of the key points here is that I was being very flexible, right? And I reacted to the situation. So, early on, what went on? Let's tell the whole story of the game. So a lot of people in chat are already asking the question, which I was hoping people would ask, because this is the one always people ask. How do I stop tanks and Liberators? How do I stop tank pushes? How do I stop bunker tank pushes? How do I break these sort of pushes? And the answer is don't let it happen in the first place. Don't let them get sieged up like that or you are screwed. Now, that's why we need to go back to the start of this game and say he did a perfect job. Snowy scouted I was on one base. Early on, he said, you know what? You've got two gases. This is some sort of one base all in. Built a second and third gateway, pumped out Stalkers, got a Robo, pumped out Immortals, delayed his own Nexus to make sure he was safe. So this was a great reaction. And then said, and then I can safely expand behind this. And he said, you know what, we can move out, make sure I can't build bunkers here. He even chases me back across the map, says, you're not able to siege up. Get wrecked, and I'm going to pick you off. But this is where the mistake happens from Snowy. Snowy, who up to this point is doing a very safe play, just slowly expanding behind it, has all the units he needs, then gets a little bit too excited here and says, you know what, I think I can surprise you and just kill you as you're coming across the map. 4 Stalkers and an Immortal, while a very scary force, he needed to be very careful with it. Now, the advantage he has is that he shouldn't be able to get chased down here. I don't have anything more mobile than he does, so the only way this is bad is if he overcommits. He could poke forward, kill a Marine, back off, and he'd be in a good spot. But he gets way too excited here, tries to push really deep, and with a bit of nice micro there, you can see I pull back the unit, he's focus firing. The Cyclone, the Stalkers aren't really doing what they needed to, even though he's going to kill the tank. And does he get the Cyclone? Oh, he did get the Cyclone as well. But he loses all of his units. And most importantly, this Liberator has snuck past because he doesn't have any defense at home. So he's taken a trade there, but it's not necessarily a great trade. And then I catch him out with this Liberator, and he doesn't actually have a bigger economy than me. You've got to remember that those units that I have, you know, they're really, really bad if they're not sieged up. So here he takes a massive hit to his economy and ends up down at just 18 workers. So he's actually got less workers than me at this point, and he can't even afford to produce out of all of this production. This also buys me the time to set up my bunkers, get my tanks sieged, If he quickly pushed out and broke these bunkers, he might have still been able to hang on here, but it would have been close with how damaged this Immortal is. But because he sat back, he let me siege up, and that's where my army grows in power. So if we go back a little bit and we look at this, we say, wait a second, rather than trading his units with me, why not just poke forward, kill a Marine or two, pull back, let your shields regenerate? He can take these sort of trades pretty much for free. But because he forced his way up this little narrow ramp, he had to move up the ramp before he got high ground vision. He then chased these units deep. He took a kind of nasty trade that wasn't nearly as efficient as it could have been. And the fact that he's invested in this Nexus and then takes a whole bunch of probe losses really hurts him. So I would say just stay on the map. A lot of Protoss players get overeager, but if you think about this force, how do I possibly push across if there's Stalkers just shooting me, moving back, shooting, moving back? By the time I get to his side of the map, he'll have picked off most of my forces, and there's no way to set up the siege. So trying to not overextend with your counter aggression, but just saying you can't, if you push across, I'll pick away at you as you push across. So he could have just left his units here. When I started pushing, picked at them, pulled back, picked at them, pulled back, and do that classic stutter step micro that Stalkers are so good, where they shoot, move, and that would have actually just totally dismantled this push of mine. So he just went a little bit too deep in, traded his units away, and it was just a bit of a bad trade. So a lot of less experienced players would have lost key units during that push. A Siege Tank or Liberator will die, and so on. When do you decide to abandon the frontal push, says Blackwater? I mean, this is pretty all in, so you really want to make sure you at least kill their natural expansion. Once you've kind of got a siege up on their ramp, you don't need to feel as much pressure to push into their main base. Generally, if you're doing this frontal push, like it's an all or nothing move. So usually there isn't much of a pre-planned transition. Like if you lose your key units, you're kind of just screwed. Usually you just try to do a second wave of the same attack and hope you can catch them off guard. But one thing is the fact that as soon as I saw that he didn't have an expansion, I pulled back. If I still committed across the map and lost my first Cyclone and 2 Marines to the Stalkers, rather than pulling back and grouping up here on the high ground, he would have been able to just destroy me with his moves. So keep in mind my scouting and reacting to the fact that saying he's on one base, I can't push as hard and fast. Whereas if he'd fast expanded, I would have right at the very start of that pressure immediately been just like building bunkers on the high ground with just a single Cyclone and 2 Marines. Remember? I was pushing across with a Cyclone, 2 SCVs, 2 Marines. This is like nothing. But I very quickly was like, oh god, 4 Stalkers, and I just ran. And that was the clutch decision for me, saying, he's investing in fighting units as well. Let's wait for me to build up a few more units. Let him start investing in his economy, thinking he's safe, and then we'll hit him just a little bit later. And that worked out really well. I started playing StarCraft 2 last week, says IGN. I'm interested in Zerg. What do I rush? And how to do, well, anything. If you type beginner in chat, !beginner, IGN, that'll bring up a playlist. What you want to look at is the hopping into 1v1 for the first time video, as well as the opening Zerg build order. That'll give you a starting point for you to just start experimenting from there. A general game plan is build about 45, 50 workers and then make a big army and try to kill your opponent. You can start out by saying make 50 workers, so 2 bases full of drones, and then just make maybe 20, 30 roaches and try to kill your opponent, or 40 or 50 roaches. But if you can just give yourself that sort of structure and then branch out and say, actually, I really like Hydralisks, I'm going to try to use those, or I really like Mutalisks, I'm going to try to use those. There's a lot of experimentation and kind of natural discovery, which you've got to do for yourself as a player, and that'll really help you out. What if you open Stargate and kills your whole economy with an Oracle, since you have no defense, says Milchill. This is something where my Reaper would be trying to check for that for sure, Milchill, which is why the Reaper's not meant to die. But since I'm going all in with this attack, I don't have a choice. So losing the Reaper was really bad, right? Because I would have loved to check that tech. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So Reaper comes, right? And you're absolutely right. An Oracle could have done big damage. It wouldn't have killed my whole economy, but it definitely would have thrown a spanner in the works. Like a big spanner. So yeah, here at this point, it's like he could be going for his target, absolutely. However, there will be a trade-off. So what happens is if an Oracle hits me, I'm going to have bunkers up outside his base, a Cyclone and a Siege Tank there. So if he's rushing an Oracle, he's not going to have many gateway units, and I can shove into his base a lot quicker. So I would just commit more to the front even while my economy is getting gutted. And I'd just be like, keep going to see if I can get in there and just start massacring his workers. But if my Reaper stayed alive there, which I should have been able to keep it alive, then I would have hopped in the main already by this point, checked what his tech was, And if he was going for Stargate, I would try to spot it coming across the map with my Reaper. Say the Stargate's there, I would leave my Reaper patrolling from here to here. And when and then I'd be like, just to keep track of it, but I'd basically just keep my first Cyclone at home. And when it comes in, I'd lock onto it and shoot it down. I'd probably build a Viking as well. I might even get a second Cyclone. And then I'd push across just a little bit later on. Once I've kind of blocked the Oracle, and then I'd just grab all my units, push across the map, and hopefully the Oracle doesn't get in there in between units popping out. If it does, hopefully like my next Cyclone or my next Viking will be about to pop. So even though I'll lose some SCVs, it'll come out, chase the Oracle off, and we'll still be okay. Of course, the fact that that is one of the many problems with doing an all-in push like this. There's certain things which can catch you off. So if I were to do this more efficiently, I would proxy the barracks, the factory, and the starport all on my opponent's side of the map, and I'd say, look, even if you get an Oracle, by the time that pops out, I'm already in your natural expansion killing stuff, so you're going to die if your Oracle goes across the map. And that forces the Oracle to defend rather than attacking. So yeah, building just plenty of units and not letting them siege up is really key, guys. If you're not confident kind of leaving your units out front, leaving a Zergling outside their base is actually one of the coolest things you can do. Have a single Zergling out front, or you know, a probe. You see them pushing out, and you try to you know, move up and engage them as they're moving out. Because when the tanks and liberators aren't sieged, they suck. If you let them siege up outside your base with a bunch of bunkers, that's when you get wrecked. And that's about it. That's about it for that one. So GG's, good game there. Let's take a look at a few more replays now and do a little bit more of that free coaching, as a lot of people sent in their